Hi, I'm Jamie, and this is Book Tease, a podcast to remind you that even the mom next door likes her fiction filthy. Welcome to March. The theme of March is Lust of the Irish. And I'm so excited. I love this theme. My husband and I went to Ireland for our honeymoon, and it was just glorious. I can't even describe it. There is something about Ireland that just seeps into your soul. It is mystical. You get it almost spiritual. At least I did, almost spiritual feeling and aura being there and standing on the cliffs of Moher. It just it just made me feel something. So when we come to March, and March has St. Patrick's Day, it was a compulsion. I had no choice. I had to dedicate the entire month to Irish characters and Irish locations because it just sounded like a beautiful thing to do. And I was excited for it. And so here we go. The first book up in our Lust of the Irish series is The Exorcism of Faeries. And it is by J.L. Vampa. I have not read anything by J.L. Vampa yet. This was my first read by her, and I'm obsessed. I love her writing style. It is so beautiful and gothic, and I was just so taken with her writing style. So I will be reading more by her. The Exorcism of Faeries has a book 2 that is coming out in spring 2026. So it's coming out soon, and I've already added it to my watch list because I need it. I need it. And I'll talk more later in the episode about my theories for book 2. But just throwing that out there, if you read this book and you end up really loving it, there will be a book 2. And as always, just a little reminder that this podcast does contain spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled about this book and you haven't read it yet, you might want to turn me off and come back later. So it's set in Dublin. This one has both Irish characters and an Irish location. It's set in Dublin. Both characters are Irish. They live in Dublin and they go to Trinity College. Well, actually, our FMC goes, she's a student at Trinity College, and our MMC is a professor. That's right. This is dark academia, one of my absolute favorite tropes, themes, whatever you want to classify it as. Dark academia always gets in my bones. I love it. I don't know what it is about it, but that professor student forbidden relationship, I love gothic. Of course, I'm a fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I just love gothic literature, the gothic aesthetic. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I love the creepy vibes along with the romance. And there's usually like poetry and beauty. And I was an English major. I've always been an English nerd, obviously. And kind of weaving in classical literature tropes or nods or, I love it. So anyway, this book does all of that. I'm already telling you I'm going to recommend it. It is set in 1990s, which is interesting. Yeah, I'm in my 40s, so I thoroughly remember the 90s. So that was exciting to me. They're in Trinity College, which I did not visit Dublin. I was in Doolin because I wanted the cliffs and I wanted the wild Atlantic way, and I wanted the more country feel, and I wanted to immerse myself in the culture, and I wanted to hear Irish spoken, and I wanted to go to pubs and actually listen to traditional music, which I did all of those things, and it was wonderful. But I did not go to the big cities. The only big city I went to was Galway, and it was beautiful, and I enjoyed it. But I'm not really, even though I live near Austin, I'm not a city girl at heart. I want to actually be able to converse with people and not fight my way through traffic. So I didn't go to Dublin. But I mean, it's on my list. Trinity College especially is on my list because I really want to see that library. I do. And I will. I will one day, manifest it. Our main characters are Ariadne Morrow. She is our FMC. She goes by Atta. She doesn't like to be called Ariadne, which I don't know. It's such a unique, beautiful name. Why not be called that? But I mean, I get it. It's a long, complicated name. She goes by Atta, which is also really cute. She is the daughter of morticians and she works in a morgue. And she's a botany student, which is really interesting because she said she grew up learning about plants from her grandfather and really loving plants. But then also she's so comfortable around dead bodies and working in a morgue and that sort of thing. So she's just got this interesting mix where she loves plants, but she also is totally comfortable with deaths and dead bodies, and it doesn't give her the ick at all. Then our MMC is Professor Sonder Murdoch. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a big Buffy nerd, which I've mentioned before. And I was listening to the audiobook, which very good, very well done. And they have the Irish accents, and I highly recommend the audiobook. But when they said Sonder, I, for the first chapter, thought they were saying Xander. And I was like, really? We have a Xander? That's great. I like this. And then I was like, no, his name is Sonder. Still really cool, but yeah, that just proves your Buffy nerdness will just pop up anywhere. Professor Sonder Murdoch, he is the professor of morbid anatomy, because of course he is. And the students call him Dr. Frankenstein. And he's very severe and he's very intimidating. The students are terrified of him. It was just hot. Give me a break. It's hot when you have a man that's so intimidating. But Atta's not intimidated by him, and we'll get into that. The story begins on a rainy day or night, and Atta is dragging a corpse to her car. Talk about just leaping into the gothic of it all and wondering what the fuck is up. Atta, are you grave robbing? What are you doing? Why are you dragging corpses to the boot of your car? Yeah, instantly we're in dark, moody atmosphere, and we're questioning Atta's sanity. But what we find out is that there is a strange plague going on in Dublin, and people are dying. And she's obsessed with figuring out what it is because specifically this plague, they can't figure out how it's being spread. It seems to hit people just sporadically and indiscriminately. And it's causing it's causing essentially plants to grow in people's lungs, their hearts, their organs are sprouting vines. I mean, it's very, very strange. And it seems to come on just, it just, there's not really a set group of symptoms to look out for. It's just suddenly you're dying and you're growing plants in your body. So weird plague. So she works in a morgue along with going to school full time to get her botany degree. She's in grad school, so she already has an undergrad, and now she's going back for basically her master's. And what she's doing is she's dragging this body to sell to Achilles' house. I don't know why I couldn't say that. She's bringing the body to the house of the secret society because she found out, within her first week going back to school and working at the morgue, she found out that they're buying bodies of plague victims to further study and figure out exactly what's going on and how it's spreading and how to cure it. And so she's doing her part, and plus she needs extra cash, and she's bringing the body to Eckley's house. But she, like, here's the thing with Atta. It's been 6 years since she graduated. And she was working in the morgue in her hometown, at her family business, doing her thing. And then this plague happened, and she decided, I'm going to go to Dublin because this is the epicenter of this plague. This is where it's happening. This is where it's spreading, and I want to figure it out. She's like obsessed with figuring out this plague. So she's positioned herself at Trinity College so she can have access to the correct research and try to dig into what's going on herself, conducting her own analysis. So she, before she brings these bodies, does her own autopsy on them, which pisses off the guy who does intake at Achilles' house. And so, okay, she's dragging this body. I'm getting ahead of myself, and she gets to Achilles' house, and they all wear old-fashioned plague masks, the ones that have the big beak like a bird. And she gets there and, she goes to sell it. And they're like, you tampered with it. You cut it open. You can't do this. And she's like, well, I don't know why not. I've left everything intact for you. Lie. Because this body, it was a stage 3, and it had a, not a spore, but it had a bloom in its lung. It was blooming a flower or something like that in its lung. And so she took that. So she did not leave it unmolested. But she wants to conduct her own research. And so she goes in here, and now I'll give it to you and you can conduct your research. So they're like, well, we're not giving you the full amount. But because she says, hey, there was a bloom in the lung. Like, I want you to know there's something special with this body. Like, this is, you need to look at this body. You want this body. Well, a gold stitch comes, and she doesn't know who it is, but he's got gold stitching on his plague mask. And so she's termed him Gold Stitch. And he's one of the guys in charge. And he's like, don't tell anyone about that. And you can't, basically he's a hard ass. And he's like, you can't go cutting the bodies open before you bring it to us. Like, shame on you. And I know you were paid in instruments to conduct your own autopsy, but you got to bring them back because that wasn't okay by me. So no having that. So she's mad. She's like, this guy, okay, whatever. I'm going to do what I want. And she has to go to school. So she goes to school. She does her own thing. Okay. There's also something else weird going on with Atta. She has these migraines, like these bad migraines, which fill her sister because I have to. And they come on sporadically. She doesn't seem to know what causes them. And she also gets these like weird visions with it where she's seeing like gnashing teeth, or she bumps into a girl and she sees her like caught up in vines. And she's like, I don't know what's going on with my imagination. I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm working too hard, because she barely gets any sleep. She works the morgue full time. She works at, she has school full time. And then she's also conducting this research and studying the plague and doing autopsies herself. So she's got a full load. She like barely ever sleeps. And so she's thinking, I'm just overdoing it. That's what's causing all of these crazy migraines. So anyway, the things take a turn when she's called into her advisor's office, and her advisor says, hey, your not student loan, but your scholarship has been revoked, or it's been pulled. It hasn't, the finances haven't come through. And she's like, well, I have perfect grades. What's going on? And she goes, oh, you have beautiful grades. Your grades are great, but you got that scholarship 6 years ago. And instead of going immediately into a grad study, you went home and you worked in your family morgue, which has absolutely nothing to do with botany. And there's a whole crop of new students since then who deserve it more, according to the people who are over the delegation of the scholarship. So they specifically said your pursuit of postgraduate studies in botany seemed more recreational than vocational. I mean, she's like, well, I can't really argue with that. I know what my reasoning is, but I can't really explain why I think botany and working in a morgue and doing autopsies is combined, other than it is when this plague's involved. But the government's not releasing a whole lot of information about this plague. So she can't really be like, well, let me argue my point. So she has to just accept it. But her advisor has a plan. She's like, you're a very gifted student. We want you to continue here. Something we can do to help you is if you accept a TA position. And I'll try to find you one, but then your housing will be paid for, 6 meals a week will be paid for, and you'll get the money you earn from your TA position will be credited towards what you owe, and it'll take a huge chunk off. And I think there's like a discount involved. I mean, there's a whole crop of reasons why she should accept this. And she's like, great, I can't add more to my workload, man. I already have a full-time job. I'm already selling bodies to, the secret society. I'm already conducting my own autopsies and research about the plague. And I already have a full workload at school. But I gotta stay here. So, okay, I guess I'm accepting a TA position as well. Enter Professor Murdoch, who is described as fuckable in a scholarly way by the students. So they acknowledge he's hot, but he's also incredibly intimidating and scary. But he's a gifted lecturer. So even though the students of Trinity College say, well, he's creepy, he's one of the youngest professors, he's intimidating, gives zero shit, he's also fair, and his lectures are apparently amazing enough that even students who aren't in his class try to sit in on him. So, and he's very mysterious, of course, because this is a gothic romance. Of course he's mysterious, tortured, Anyway, he's a loner, but he's in the secret society, and the advisor happens to be a friend of his. And she pulls some string and is like, you don't have a TA, and this girl is amazing and she needs to stay. So I need you to do me a favor and have her be your TA. And he's like, she's a botany student. She's not even an anatomy student or a morbid anatomy student. She's not even in my field of study. Why would I have her be my TA? And she's like, because I'm asking you to do a favor, and she's brilliant, and she does have some unique qualities that make her suitable to what you do. She has been working in a morgue since she was very young. She has a family morgue. She's currently working in a morgue. So she knows your field of study, even if it is not her field of study. So he's like, fine, whatever. Mr. Professor Murdoch is arrogant. Okay. He's very hotly arrogant, but he's arrogant. And he tells her, you have to sit in on some of my lectures. When he meets Atta, by the way, her meaning Atta, you have to sit in on some of my lectures before I even allow you to fetch me coffee or make copies. She's like, listen, dick. I have been conducting autopsies since, before I could even fully report it because, child labor laws, but I've been doing it for a very long time. And they land on, she'll do some, she'll sit on some of his lectures, but she's also saying, if I pass this test that you're about to give all your students, then you let me do something other than just sit in on your lectures. Like, you have to actually let me earn my position. And he agrees. And she does. She does pass it because she's brilliant and she, knows about his field of study. So the fact that she doesn't bulk under what he has to say, and she's not intimidated by him, and she speaks up for herself, and she debates him, has him intrigued. Also, turns out, Professor Murdoch is Gold Stitch. He is the guy who gave her shit for doing an autopsy on the corpse before selling it to Ackley's house. So he's already clocked who she is and is already intrigued by her because she was doing that. And so he's like, what is up with this girl? So there is a tension there. Oh, also, I'm going to throw this in there. When she attends his lecture, she actually ends up debating him in class in front of his students. And it's a great debate because she's very intelligent. And yeah, the class eats it up. He eats it up. He loves her brain. He loves that she's so smart and that she can give it as good as she gets. And so, yeah. Okay. The next time, because he's already super intrigued by her, she's holding this TA position. He's actually letting her help with some work. And yeah, she's more than proved herself. And he's like intrigued with her brain. The next time she brings a body to Ackley's house, she's cut it open again. She said, I'm not quitting. Don't give me as much money, whatever. Here's your tools back. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to, like, my whole reason for being here is to try to figure out what's going on with this plague. So I'm going to figure out what's going on with this plague. And, I'm not letting you talk me out of it. Because she's, like I said, I love how secure and like confident she is in herself, especially given that she's older than most of the students in her grade because she waited the 6 years to go back. And she's different. Like, she doesn't try to look sexy. She doesn't care about going to parties, like none of that. She's a serious person. And of course, because this is a gothic romance, she does kind of dress in a more gothic, not really goth, but gothic way. Like, she'll wear black leggings and plaid skirts and darker color sweaters. She doesn't worry about her appearance so much. She's not really putting on makeup very often, if at all. And she tends to just wash her hair and let it air dry. Like, she is low maintenance when it comes to her look, but she's still like naturally beautiful, of course. Anyway, when she next time brings a body, it, of course, is Sonder, and he's in his mask. And he tells her, he pulls her aside. He's like, look, I need a stage 3. She's like, well, I can't confirm. Or I can't just say, hey, for sure, yes, I'm going to get a stage 3. I don't know what bodies are going to come through this morgue, or what bodies out of the ones that come from the morgue I'm going to be safe to take, because I can't take ones who have been claimed. I have to pull them off the burn pile, because the bodies that aren't claimed, that there's like a whole set of rules. If a body is not claimed that died of the plague, it has to be burned. So it's added to the burn pile and then burned or incinerated. And she goes, I'm trying to sneak those away when I can under the noses of my employers. I have to follow these sets of rules. I'm not trying to lose my job, because then we're not getting bodies at all. So I can't for sure tell you that I'm going to be able to bring you a stage 3. I'm just, as they come, bringing you the ones I can. They end up forming a relationship, because now he knows her as his TA. He knows how brilliant she is. And like I said, he's obsessed with her brain. And so as Goldstitch, in his plague mask, he says, okay, look, you're conducting your research. You're showing me some stuff here. How about I give a little too, and we form a partnership? This society's getting nowhere. And I'm telling you, it's because there's a lot of political pull in there. There's people I can't trust in the, who's running it. I have no one that I can really work with this. Why don't you work with me? And we'll do this together. And then that kind of spurs her having a double relationship without even knowing it with Sonder. She's working with him as Goldstitch in this secret society, and they're doing autopsies together, and they're like grave robbing, essentially. They're doing all this stuff, and she's attracted to him, but she doesn't know anything about him. And then she knows him as Professor Murdoch, where, they're debating stuff, and she's just attracted to him and his brilliance. And so, but she's like, I'm attracted to these two men, and her subconscious starts to put together these similarities, and she starts to kind of piece together, there's a possibility they're the same person, but I don't know for sure, and I can't say anything. What if they're not? And then I fuck myself with their with Professor Murdoch. Then he knows I'm doing all this stuff on the side. I can't really tell people that I'm doing that, because if I do and I get caught, then I could get into big trouble. So she's like, okay, I'm just not gonna say anything. But eventually he gets to the point where he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna tell her. And he does. They're trying to get away from something. They're almost caught out in the Trinity cemetery, because Trinity has a cemetery where they started the government, or the people higher up in the society have started burying plague victims in this cemetery. And she's like, I thought we were supposed to burn them. Like, why are they burying them? And then she goes and they sneak on to the cemetery, and they find out if it's stage 3, they're getting buried in potting soil, like in like soil to grow this flora that's sprouting from them. And she's like, there is something dangerous and wrong going on here. I don't know what's up, but something's up. This is not okay. And they're sharing information, her and Professor Murdoch. And that's when he just takes his mask off and he goes, it's me. Come on, you knew it was me. And she's like, oh, you know what? I suspected. And I didn't want to let myself know for sure. Well, now she's got this in her tension, because the 2 men she was attracted to are the same guy. And she's like, oh. So there's definite tension. It's building this tension. Now that they're on even footing, they really dive into saving this plague, or solving this plague together. He's invited her to her house. He's invited her to his house, Murdoch Manor. And it is a Gothic manor in the true sense of the word. I mean, there's a hawthorn grove. There's his parents died of the plague, and he didn't burn them. Instead, he has them hidden in a little atrium where they're like vined up and entwined together. And it's creepy, but beautiful, beautiful, creepy. And his house is like dark and got a lot of, he's obviously rich. And his house has a lot of statues and all kinds of stuff. So she's like, okay, this is really cool, but they don't cross any sort of, like, there's some flirting, but it's like they're both holding back because he's a professor. She's a student. They can't cross that line. So they do start to grow closer together as like colleagues and partners in solving this plague, but they are not crossing any boundaries. Not really. Plot twist happens. And she ends up getting called into the dean's office. And she's like, what's going on? And the dean is like this harsh man. And he says, hey, we got told you were sneaking around in Trinity Cemetery, so you're expelled. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First off, how did you know? Second off, she tells him, I was just taking a walk. I mean, there's no proof that she tampered or did anything in there. She's like, I'm not allowed to take a walk on campus, because yeah, it's a cemetery, but it's still on campus. I'm not allowed to walk on campus. And he's like, you were up to something. We know you were up to something. So you're expelled. Turns out the dean is a higher up in the society, and they kind of know that she's doing stuff. And so they want to shut her down. So again, it's all political. So they tell her, you have to be out of your housing and everything by the end of the day. And she's like, shit, I don't have anywhere to live. I don't have anything to do. Like, how am I supposed to continue my research? I'm kicked out of my grad. I'm like, this is messing up her whole thing. So what she does is she packs a bag and she goes to Professor Murdoch's house, and she just knocks on the door in the rain, and she's like, I have nowhere else to go. This is what happens. And he's livid. He is livid because she's brilliant, and he's like, she deserves to stay. And so he gets her to go to sleep. He's like, yeah, you can stay here. Go. Here's a spare bedroom. Go in there. And he immediately goes to the dean, because they're in the society together, and he goes, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you targeting Atta? And she is like the most brilliant mind here at Trinity and she deserves to finish her grad. And he goes, no, because she's doing something with this plague. And we know that we know that she's conducting her own research and we can't allow it. If there's any movement on solving this plague, it has to be done within the society so we get credit, because credit equals power. So, and power equals money, of course, in any society, in any government. One good thing about this plot twist, though, is that this acts as the catalyst to move their relationship forward. So now Atta has all this free time. Like, she was like to the gills, working her butt off. Now she is like, suddenly school's not there anymore. Trying to be social's not there anymore. Trying to keep up appearances isn't there anymore. Now she is in Murdoch Manor with this hot professor who's no longer her professor, which he wasn't anyway, but he was her TA, he was her boss. And she was a student. Well, now that limitation is no longer applied to their relationship. She's not a student at Trinity College. So both of them kind of come to this realization and then they come together and it's so sexy and they have their first kiss and leads to sex and they're like, oh, we can finally be together. She now has all of this time on her hands to conduct this research. He has to still go be a professor and keep up appearances and all of that. Well, she doesn't have to do that anymore. She has all this time at Murdoch Manor. And he has, of course, like a morgue area where he conducts his, autopsies and stuff. So she has a whole setup. She has a whole library of books. She can do whatever there. So she starts conducting all her own research there or continuing her research there. She still tries to go to work, but she's quickly doesn't even end up showing up for work anymore. She's just spending all her time here. And slowly, there's a breakthrough. She realizes that this is not an infection, it's a possession. And the infected people who are dying of this plague are people who are being possessed by fairies. And that she realizes that these migraines she has with these weird visions, they are actually true visions. It has happened. Like the girl she bumped into that she saw entwined in vines dies from the plague. And when they find her body, she is entwined in vines, just like Atta's vision. So she's like, okay. And she starts using this vision and start using her visions. And apparently, of course, she has a past history of studying folklore and religion. So she's like, okay, I know about this. And she dives more into that. And she realizes that the fairies' world is decaying. And so they need every single alien movie is because there's something going on with their world and they need to invade and take over another world. Well, it's the same thing with these fairies. Their world is decaying and they need to take over another world. And they know that humans don't take care of their planet. They don't seem to, we're always fighting and there's wars and there's pollution. And so they're like, oh, you don't deserve your world. So we're just going to take it over. And so she knows that there's a portal somewhere that they're coming through, but they're possessing people. And what seems as like sporadic is they're trying to find people who are in pairs. So a mom and a son, a wife and a husband, like they're trying to find people of two roommates that live together because they need to infect or possess one person. And when they die and these spores happen, the food is the other person that feeds the flora and then it grows. So it's very interesting and creepy. But that's the end goal. So she starts putting together a list of like symptoms and treatments. And she starts, her and Murdoch or Saunders start kind of putting together a protocol, different stage levels, what to do, how to perform these exorcisms is what they are. They went off and put on the masks and performed an exorcism secretly, and it ended up working. It was messy, but it ended up working. And now they have a trapped fairy that they ended up killing accidentally. So they start refining how to do this and the different methods for each stage level. And then they end up pulling in some peers of hers. Like Gibbs is the first one. And he was a guy he was another TA. So when she got moved to the TA housing, they became friends. He was really nice. But he's also already in the secret society with Sonder as a kind of a secretary of sorts. So he's very organized, and he has worked with Sonder before. And so they pull him in first, and he starts kind of helping document and organize and schedule other exorcisms. And then 2 more of her friends get pulled in, and then they end up with like this group of like a mix of teachers and students. And it's a small group, but they all know the truth that these are actual exorcisms that need to occur. These are actual possessions of fairies. And it just reminds me so much of Buffy because, she has her Scooby Gang. So I feel like Atta has her Scooby Gang. It also is interesting that it's almost Professor Murdoch has put together a secret society within a secret society, because they are not reporting to the higher ups of the society. They are just kind of keeping under the radar because they don't trust these people, because they all are doing it only for political or financial gain. And so it's just really, there's a high level of intrigue. As these exorcisms are becoming more successful, they get discovered. Someone kind of does a sketch of what they look like, even though they have the mask. And it's very obvious because they both have their own like style. It's like, oh, it's that girl who's always wearing black skirts with boots and sweaters. And oh yeah, we know who that professor is, Mr. I'll always have on a tweed jacket. So they didn't really hide their identities other than these masks. So of course, the society figures out who the hell they are, and they pull in Sonder, and they're like, we know it's you. We know it's you, and we know it's Atta. So you need to share your knowledge, and they threaten him in some kind of way. And he goes, oh, you can't threaten me, because we know what's up with this plague. We know how to cure it. And we're not sharing our data with you at all. We're keeping our research, and we're going to keep doing our exorcism, or we didn't call them exorcism. He said treatments, because they don't need to know what it is. But we will keep our mask on, and we will make sure you get the credit, and that everyone thinks the society has just kept their word. And, that you're the one who actually solved. So you get your power, you get your credit. We don't care about credit for us. We just want to keep doing what we're doing. But we'll do that. And the only thing you have to do is A, let us, and B, reinstate Atta at Trinity College, because Sonder still has this idea in his head that she is the most brilliant mind he's ever met, and he wants her to be able to fulfill her grad goal. Well, the society goes, no. First off, yeah, we accept the first part, but we're not reinstating her unless she pledges herself to be a full member of the society. Well, it's a till death do us part situation with the society. And Sonder's like, I don't want Atta to do that. But his friend, who's also a professor, she's in the society, she goes, Sonder, it's her decision. You respect her brilliance. You need to respect her decision. You need to present her with what's going on and let her decide. And then whatever she decides, you need to go with it. It's okay. That's exactly what I'll do. And that's exactly what he does. He calls Atta there and he tells her what's going on. And he goes, I'll respect whatever decision you have. And she says, well, I'll say, let's get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be part of their society. I don't care if they get the credit. Let's do our own thing. What are they going to do to us? And he goes, okay, agreed. And so they take the masks off and they get, they're like, this is us. We figured it out. And the government's trying to set us down, and then we're going to just keep pushing forward and and saving people. So that's what they do. And she straight up tells him, the only reason I came to Trinity College was because I wanted to get closer to this plague at the epicenter of it. I don't actually care about getting my grad degree in botany. I don't need that. This is what I'm like. I love it. I love studying. I love school. I love learning, but this is what's important. This is what I care about. I don't care about going back to school. So he's like, okay, I'll respect that. So at this point, they're continuing to do their thing and they're becoming successful, and they are full on in love at this point. And they've got their crew of people who they've taught how to do the different levels of exorcisms, and they're all based at Murdoch Manor. And anyway, she is hearing voices. She is hearing like creepy fairy tale rhymes. She is like losing time. And they've slowly built a list of symptoms. And one of the top symptoms is before you know you're infected, before you know you're possessed, the early stages are you start to kind of lose time and you're really forgetful of simple things. Well, she starts to be really forgetful of simple things. And she's hearing this like, na 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 kind of voice in her head. And she's like, shit, she knows that she's possessed. She's infected. And so she really starts kind of looking into this and listening to her visions. And she's being really pulled to this hawthorn grove. He's got hawthorn trees because his mother was really into the fairy tales. And hawthorns are apparently like the Irish tree or the fairy tree. And so his mother, Saunders' mother, told him when she died, I don't want to be burned. I want to be buried underneath the hawthorn tree. And so he did. And that was the atrium area where her body sprouted all these vines, and his parents' bodies were entwined together under, with this hawthorn tree. But Atta puts it together through her visions and her night walking that she ended up doing. Like she ends up sleepwalking and all this crazy stuff. She puts it together that he buried his mother under the incorrect hawthorn tree, and that the big twisted hawthorn tree in the hawthorn grove that's on his property is actually the portal to the fairyland. This is where it is. And so she puts this together. And then I am going to say, as much as I love this book, the ending was a little obscure. It was a little rushed. I didn't quite understand some of the ending, but I'll just barge through it. What happened is she realizes that she needs to self-exorcise, or she needs to give herself an exorcism, a self-exorcism. And she needs to do this to end the plague. So I don't know why. It's not really explained why, but this is what she figures out. And she goes to the hawthorn tree that is the correct one, the main one that's the portal, and she drinks this embalming fluid that they've put together. One of the things that's Saunders' legacy is that he created this embalming fluid that makes a body be preserved for a longer period of time. Great. So they took his embalming fluid and they added ingredients to it like various herbs like lavender and sage and all that stuff. They mix that in there with it, and they kind of use it as a stage 3 or 4. I forget the stages, but a higher stage, I think 3, is what they use they use it in their exorcism process, where she drinks it, which is certain death for any human to drink embalming fluid. It will kill you. So she drinks that and essentially performs an exorcism upon herself, and she does it at the base of this tree. In some kind of way, that shuts down the portal, and when the portal gets destroyed, it ends up demolishing the house, the Murdoch Manor. I don't know why. I don't know why or how. I don't know. So if anyone can read that part and explain to me what the actual fuck happened, I thought it was all really cool. It was nice that we had an ending to the plague, but I don't know why it collapsed the house. So that happened. And she fully expected she was going to die, but some kind of way, she's all right. She's alive. Everybody's alive, even though the house literally collapsed. Everyone's alive. There was one person that had rubble on her, and she was the most annoying one of the friend group, and she even was okay. So everyone survives. She has to go to the hospital, but she's okay, and they've ended the plague. Yay, them! They managed it. So at the end, her and Sonder get married. They have an apartment in town since Murdoch Manor got demolished, and she is now the professor of the history of the Fae Plague, which, of course, perfect person to teach that class, the person that eradicated the plague. And it kind of ends with he validated her, believed in her, and pushed her, and she brings him into the light because now he's not hiding off at his creepy manor. He's got an apartment in town, and he's more part of society, and she's softened his image a bit. So that's how it ends, and it has a to be continued at the end of it. So I want to hypothesize here that book 2, I think, is going to be about the retaliation of this secret society and the Irish government and all these higher up political people that they've thwarted by taking credit and pushing through. I think that we're going to see some retaliation in book 2. I don't know for sure. This is just, I haven't read anything about book 2 yet, but I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. And I can't wait to dive more into their world. Spring of 2026. So just in a few months. That's going to be great. For my ratings, obviously, it's a highly rated book in my opinion. Even though the ending was a bit confusing to me, and I don't know why did the portal collapse? Why did the house collapse? Why? Even though I don't know that, I am going to still give this a 5-star rating because this book was, I'm obsessed with the feel of this book, the atmosphere. I loved it. So yeah, I mean, of course, Dark Academia is where it's at for me. One of my favorite books ever, and I will cover it one day, is Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I am obsessed with that book. I love it. And it is another Dark Academia book with like a sickness going on in there too. So yeah, 5-star rating. But the spice level was low. It was like, they didn't really give us a lot of open door scenes. It was a secondary part of the book. And so it's only a two level spice. Still worth it. The tension was hot. The book itself was excellent, but the spice level is only a 2. Let's dive into quotes. And I'm going to be honest, y'all, I got a lot of quotes because I loved the writing. So I have quite a few quotes for this book. All right, this is Atta. Dublin isn't dreary. She's melancholic. Her sunshine is in her people. Since this, I had to include this quote because this is our Irish month. So, Sonder. Do you know that I'm in love with you? She smiled, the sleepy, blissful smile he knew was his. I thought that might be the case, yeah. You've tangled yourself up in my soul like a vine a store. Oh, that's so sexy. It's so sweet. And I love that he calls her a store because that's Irish for my treasure. And I just love when like I'm reading a book set in another location and the endearment that he's used is kind of a sexy endearment in their home language. I just think that's beautiful. And as a fan of Ireland, I am a fan of Irish, and that language is beautiful. And I enjoyed hearing it when I was in Ireland. And it's just, yeah, that gave me the feels. I was like, oh, a store. Ooh, this one's creepy when she starts hearing voices and stuff. This is Atta. She didn't hear the rest of the conversation. There were overlapping lullabies on rotation in her head, but not the kind that lull you to sleep, the kind that usher in nightmares. And then this one just shows the kind of gothic feel of the book. This is also Atta. She had the most peculiar feeling, looking in his eyes across the room as if she were becoming the heroine of a gothic novel. It thrilled her, though a warning sounded in her heart that those never ended without tragedy. You know what? That line makes me wonder if we're going to have something more tragic happen in book 2, because this book did not end in tragedy. I mean, she thought she was going to die and she was willing to sacrifice herself. But I wonder if the next book is going to have a more tragic element, if something's going to happen to one of them, or if one of them's maybe she's going to be in danger because she was so close to the fairy world, and they were the fairies in her head, the one that possessed her when she was hearing all of these lullabies and stuff, kept calling her the daughter of two worlds or the daughter of multiple worlds. I wonder if we're going to hear more about that and why she was so connected and why she had these visions and stuff. I wonder if we're going to get more of that in book 2, and we're going to get more of a tragic element. Just a stray thought. I don't know, and I can't wait to find out. There was a lot of poetry in this book, which I loved, but there was this one poem that was threaded throughout the book. And it just says Old Irish Poem at the top of the page. And then it lists the poem. I researched it because I wanted to know, is this an actual Old Irish poem that J.L. Vampa ended up building the story around? Or is it one that she actually wrote for the story? And it turns out this is one she wrote for the story. But the fact that it's so beautifully done that I would have 100% believed that it was an existing Old Irish poem says something about her writing style. Okay, here's the poem. It is said they are but lore. It is said they are but demons. This is but a plague. Wayward spirits, ghosts, specters, ghouls. The truth beckons. Tick, flick, tick. The clock keeps time with the candle until they all get sick. Wax slides down the gilded stick, and the fae invade with bramble. Very creepy. But yeah, very beautifully written, and I'm so obsessed with her writing style, y'all. There's other books she's done. There's one that's grimoire, and I will be reading that as well. I'm probably going to pick up every book by her because her writing style is just so gorgeous to me. Let's move on to casting. One of my favorite parts. I had this cast in like 2 seconds. I'm going to be honest. I actually went with someone I didn't know much about for Atta, but I researched her and I was like, okay, I think she'll nail it. She has that look. Kaya Scodelario, and she was in The King's Daughter. She was in some other movies, but that is the movie that I watched the trailer for it, and she was so perfect. I was like, okay, sold. Like, that is Atta to a T. That like seriousness and like natural beauty and just brilliance, and that's my Atta. And for Sonder, okay, y'all, don't roll your eyes at me when I tell you who I went with for Sonder. Okay, I went with Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades of Grey and the Fall TV show, or the TV show The Fall. I have to tell you, I hate 50 Shades of Grey. That book is written horribly, and I'll go on record to say it sucked in my estimation. I did not watch the movies because I did not like the books. But Jamie Dornan is pretty perfect for Sonder, and if they did make a movie, I would 100% watch it, and he would kill it as this intimidating, serious professor that's hot, but everyone's so intimidated by him that no one, engages with him. I think he'd be perfect for the serious professor that is romantic in his own dark gothy way. So yeah, that's who I'm going with for Sonder. Let me know if you agree or not. And did you like 50 Shades? Because I hated it. If you want to yell at me or let me know what you think, you can find me on the socials at TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook at Book Tease Pod. Each episode is also available on YouTube at Book Tease Pod. Theme music is by The Scraps. And until next time, stay spicy.
Faeries.